Hello, welcome back to Showboys, the Arcane Companion Series season. We're going to be here recapping and reacting to episode 2 of Act 1. Real excited to get into this. I say that, but this episode, we'll get into it. But with me, as always, our lovely Discord member and fellow Arcane and League of Legends enthusiast, Venom. How are you doing tonight, sir? That's right. Cloud9 LCS champions.
So underwhelmed about the roster for this year, but
Yeah, that shirt's kind of old too. That's 4 years ago. It's been a while.
I mean, they brought most of this roster back. They had a chance they could have also brought Niski back. So I'm just saying this could have actually been a relevant roster.
I love Niski. He was good. Nick's here with us too. He's back. Surgery went well.
Recovering, yeah.
It's
a work in progress, but yeah.
Recovered enough
to be here tonight. So
nice.
Doing well. Just rewatched the episode.
Nice.
Like moments ago.
I actually did as well because I was confused as to where 2 ended and 3 began. So
that's what happens when you watch ahead.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yes, but yeah, glad you guys are here. Glad we get to sit down and break down another episode. Before we get into anything, of course, got to shout out our top tier patrons, Josie, Yusuf H, and Tim B. Thank you guys so much for your support. It means the world. All of our other patrons, you guys are amazing too. If you're wondering what the heck Patreon is or what we offer on our Patreon, you can head over to patreon.com/showboyspodcast. Check it out. There's 4 different tiers, all different price points. It's just a way that you could help support the podcast financially on a monthly subscription basis. You get some cool perks like unedited early access to episodes. You get monthly exclusive episodes. I think on our top tier, Nick, remind me if I might be misremembering this, but for so many months, you get like a free Showboys merch thing.
Yeah. You basically get a merch voucher after, I believe, 6 months of subscription.
There you go. Bam. So go check it out. Sign
free
up.
Merch.
We would appreciate it. But if you're unable to, we just appreciate that you're here. Just go ahead and subscribe. Again, patreon.com/showboyspodcast. And don't forget, we're running the Arcane Season 1 giveaway, the Vi and Jinx Steelbooks. Make sure you subscribe, and then you can enter into the giveaway contest by leaving a comment on each episode that comes out. 1 comment per entry, limit of 1 entry per episode. Leave those comments. We want to give these things away. They look amazing. Vi's the Blu-ray, Jinx is the 4K.
Correct.
There you go. There you have it. Subscribe, leave some comments. We want to give these things away. Nick, you weren't here for episode 1. You want to just quickly give your thoughts on the first episode?
Yeah, I mean, obviously enjoyed it. It was a decent start, I think, to the series, to season 2, more accurately. Obviously getting right to the action in that whole situation. A lot of kind of political intrigue, but has some like dive bombers I thought was fun, crashing the party. And obviously it did a good job kind of at least tying half of the story back to like the events of season 1. So I like how it was literally moments like I love also that they have like the 2-minute intro to each episode, then the theme song, then we get into the episode. So the arts, they're continually doing new things too, art wise, animation wise, in this season that I really like. And both these episodes went bananas on that. This episode 2 particularly, but I like the like, I can't even call it like a graphic novel, maybe like art style in episode 1, how they open there with like the funeral sequence and the morning,
the Caitlyn music video.
Yeah, dude, that I love the like music montage scenes, whatever you want to call them. It's really, really cool. It's really cool to add like a stylized effect to an already very hyper stylized show. So it's like
right.
a super stylized show. We're going to actually do these scenes that are even more stylized. It's like, wow, it's like Inception of animation.
Yeah. What do you think of the new opening credits? I mean, we kept the song, but how do you like the new character like animations and arts?
Yeah. Yeah, that's all. I enjoy
sick.
that too. And it's changing, right? Between episodes.
I didn't pay attention that closely in episode 2. Did you notice anything, Venom?
I didn't pay attention. I guess I didn't really pay attention to whether it changed from 1 to 2 to 3 or not.
We need to check that and pay attention because House of the Dragon changes. From
Game of Thrones.
Chad and I had fun kind of tracking that episode to episode. So
okay, well now it's on my radar. I'll be watching more closely in episode 3. Venom.
Yes, sir.
We talked about in episode 1 how maybe these first 2 episodes would be like sides of a coin. The first episode we were in Piltover the whole time. Episode 2, not exactly in the lanes the entire time, but vast majority of the episode, and of course we started there. So you kind of nailed that. What do you think of our time in the lanes here at the beginning?
Yeah, pretty different actually than episode 1. Episode 1, a lot seemed to kind of happen. We tied in instantly, figured out what happened after the rocket. Episode 2 definitely starts out a little bit slower. We get Jinx. I guess we get the Jinx wandering through the lanes.
Yeah, the Jinx music video.
Yeah. We get the emo Jinx walking through with her hoodie through the fighting streets. And I'm being attacked by a cat. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I guess compared to episode 1, you had the whole Caitlyn scene. So it starts out about the same, I guess, but doesn't really pick up too much. It seems like we've got more to tie up in the lanes through this episode to figure out where does everything go now that Silco has died, and that's kind of the focus of the episode as far as the lanes go. I mean, we get a little cameo from Victor here and there, but
I guess that's the pros and cons of having like a council versus like a single like kingpin, because most of the council got nuked. They're still mostly got their heads about on straight up top, but as soon as Silco died, it's just a free for all.
It was kind of I did enjoy the little picture that they had of the Silco and all the chem barons, and then slowly Xing them off. That was kind of cool.
I really enjoyed that, and that was like the beginning of the music video, because then like Jinx is walking through that, so it's cool that we go from like Jinx's kind of like in the water moment.
What do you think of that like kind of conversation with Silco as they're both floating in the water?
I thought it was nice, especially it kind of just built on like his last words to her, where it's like, don't cry, you're perfect, I believe. And like it's like a continuation of like the conversation of like her trying to like cope with that, and like she's obviously devastated.
And the little have you had enough or whatever right at the end before she kind of loses it. And
like towards the end of that whole conversation, like her duality of her like personalities was starting to show through her dialogue with Silco, where like one time she'd be saying something like mournful or deep like that, and then like almost by the end of the sentence she's like completely flipped to like an angry or like I don't know, kind of like chaotic response or statement. It was really cool to see. I thought that was really well done. But yeah, the lanes, much like Piltover, are kind of up in the air, leaderless at the moment. what's the one lady with one arm? Savika, is that her name?
Savica.
Savica. She, is kind of trying to do her best to kind of lead these chem gangs, chem barons, and the chem barons are just really fighting over territory and basically killing each other, which is making Piltover's job, or job to come, a lot easier. So we see Sevica try to narrow them down. And what do you guys think of these chem barons? And this do you think Smeech? Do you think he's like a Yordle or some other?
He's gotta be a Yordle,
like
right?
weird.
Yeah, I don't know, because they call him a rat later on, but I don't know if that's just an insult or if he's actually some kind of mutated creature of some, like Twitch's cousin or something. It's hard to say because he doesn't really look like most or other Yordles do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like he's some kind of other lab experiment type thing gone wrong. Heavily mechanized. I mean, he's replaced.
So cool.
All of his limbs have been replaced by different weapons of some flavor.
I mean, I thought it was. I mean, on the second watch, I picked up a lot more in that kind of like picture frame with Silco at the head, right? So as they kind of like pan back down the table, like it shows then the three of the Chem Barons like fighting over his seat. And then like people getting axed off. So it made a lot more sense in the context of the episode on a rewatch. You pick up a few more of those details. But I think he's just like awesome. The way he like twitches and like talks and the way he moves. And even like my favorite motion he did was when he pulls out like the picture of Jinx and is like, this, we should just give them Jinx. And he's like, it does like a weird like flip back and like the way he crumbles it. Like it's, the jerky nature of his motions is just really cool. And I mean, again, like the animation is just so crisp in this show. Like they can get away with so much because they spend so much time animating like every frame.
Yeah.
I did the math on the breakdown about that like cost thing.
Mm-hmm.
They said there's a catch there. Half of that is the marketing at least, because they're like, that's not fair to say because that includes the marketing costs. So basically for the 18 episodes, if you cut out the marketing, it's like a $7 to $9 million production per episode, which makes it a little bit more tangible. Game of Thrones is like 15 million or something like that. So, I mean, in my opinion, I mean, it's the best animated thing there is, in my opinion, at least of like recent creations. So it's fair.
I could get behind that. I sent you guys a picture of Rumble and Kled, two playable characters in League of Legends, in our Discord chat, who are Yordles and kind of have a similar like head ear look as Smeech. So I'm not gonna come out and say he is a Yordle, but I'm not gonna say he's not a Yordle, because I think, if you are a player of League of Legends, you probably are familiar with Kled and Rumble. But if you're not, Google Kled and Rumble League of Legends, and you can kind of see how similar their heads and ears look. So I don't know. Maybe he is a Yordle. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because he's dead. So if he is a Yordle or is not a Yordle, he is definitely dead. So there's that. But yeah, one of the things that kind of stuck out to me, as we're staying down in the lanes for now, and we talked about the different Chem Baron factions kind of going at it with each other. What did they find in the gas when they went into that one place? Like, what was that?
That makes way more sense on the site.
It makes a lot more sense. Well, when they went into the first the ladies kind of
Yeah, when Sneechin sent his like numbers guy in.
Yeah, so they make you think it is one of Singe's creatures there, but when it turns around, it has the three white eyes. So I assume it's the
Kate and her gang. Enforcers.
Yep.
The first time watching this, I was really confused about a lot of things. I'm like, this is a trippy episode, and I'm not picking everything up. But the second watch, I'm like, okay, this all makes sense, because I'm like, that's Caitlin.
The first time through, I'm like, oh my god, is this finally the creature? Are we getting a glimpse of the creature? And then
Vander's back.
And then definitely the second time through, I'm like, okay, I know what those goggles are. So
well, and like and the same thing happens when they are searching like the arcade room for Jinx or whatever. Like they have the smoke and gas, and it's choking Jinx out.
But they're deploying the gas, right? Everywhere they go.
That's
like
what it looked like. Yeah,
mechanism is how I took that as.
It'll make more sense. That's all I can say. I've cheated, went ahead a little bit. But.
It's okay.
It's gonna be hard not to, especially next week when we're like doing.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't expecting. Yeah, the girlfriend finally caught up on season 1, caught back up, and then binged all 3 episodes of the new season Monday night, and I had a hard time not just watching it with her. So
right.
Yeah, so I had to go back. I had to go back and rewatch episode 2 to make sure I, stop at the point that I need to stop, not give up any spoilers yet.
Well, now we can watch right after we record this, Mike. We can just go watch episode 3.
You can go watch episode 3.
That is true. Yeah. So we have Kate, Vi, and the other enforcers.
Squad.
What was the girl's name that kind of like
Officer Nolan, right?
Yeah, she's the one that Maddie. That's it. The one that gave Vi the pep talk there in episode 1. So they're kind of on the search for Jinx.
Do we even know what the other? Do we even know names for the other 2 yet? I don't think they've mentioned the other 2.
You'd have to pick it up in episode 1, but that was one of the things I read where it was like, they kind of really breezed past and slammed those into episode 1.
Great value Graves.
I'm trying to not view this in there was supposed to be more than 2 seasons light,
right?
But knowing that there could have been more seasons, and now suddenly getting a couple episodes in and being like, I feel like we're skipping a few steps here, guys. And I'm curious if there was more information that we were supposed to, or if like the gases that mysteriously come around, if we just get this information later on and they're trying to slowly reveal this information as we go on.
Only time will tell, my friend. So when Kate and the Enforcer crew make it into the arcade, and we kind of understand what the creature in the gas is roaming around the lanes, Jinx is in there. She's building something, which I thought was pretty cool. She's got Savika's new arm. What'd you guys think of like the very arcade-like nature of how she uses the arm?
I thought that was brilliant. I mean, it's a little annoying. I wouldn't like that as as a prosthetic.
Can you imagine Savika? I mean, her reaction initially shows it pretty well, but I expected her to be even more frustrated with it. She's all about control. I mean, she's been the problem solver for Silco for all of episode 1, goes out and then to just have Jinx's randomness attack. I mean, they've never got along in any capacity, and then to suddenly, it's just a constant reminder of Jinx's kind of aloof, just go roll with it to anything, make anything happen kind of thing. And there's no control whatsoever. And that's got to be just incredibly frustrating.
I like their conversation in his office because, again, like Mike, you were saying in that opener, where like in the same sentences, like they're going like, "We like Silco, but also he's a bastard," like back and forth.
Right.
So like that was a nice bonding moment for them in his office, and they both got to use the "Haven't I done you enough favors" line.
Right. And instead of killing each other, they're like, you know what, you get to deal with this.
Yeah, you gotta live with it. That'd be too much of a favor just to kill each other.
Yeah. But yeah, I mentioned Smeech,
So cool.
being dead. That whole thing comes about. We have Savika trying to unite the Chem Barons to prepare for the upcoming conflict with Piltover. You have the one like super old dude. It's basically like, what's it matter if we're united? They outnumber us like 4-1 anyways. This is not going to be good. I forget what the lady says, but Smeech is just like, why don't we just give them what they want? They want Jinx. Like, let's just give up Jinx, which seems logical, right? But
the lady would rather take her chances with Topside than to pair up with the other two Barons.
Okay, that's right. And Savika's like, no, we don't turn over our own. So she's trying to rally the troops, so to speak. But Smeech, he kind of has his own plan and decides to go rogue and try to get Jinx. That's what leads to the confrontation between Savika and Smeech meets his untimely end in a really pretty cool fight. Very hyper stylized.
Awesome. Great music and like just the motions of that thing of Smeech. Like he's just is insane. And then you have all the effects of Jinx. And I just like how Jinx and the kid are just standing there watching.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned the helper yet.
That's I know right. the who I thought was like Kid Jinx, like in some sort of weird flashback, but then that's not the case.
Yeah. So yeah, is there much else in the lanes we need to talk about? Anything I left out that is of utter importance before we move on to the Piltover side of things?
I think that's about as much as we have for Jinx's story, kinda.
All right. Well, Nick, you want to remind us what happened topside
in this episode?
Yeah.
So topside. Well, that's not topside though, where Echo is.
It starts topside and then it quickly becomes bot side again.
But where's the tree at? The tree's
episode 2 is heavy on the lane swap meta.
Yeah. Well, so we start out with Victor emerging from his cocoon.
Okay, that happened.
And then we go back. Topside again.
But where's the tree at?
The tree is way down underground.
Okay. Yeah. So we get Victor emerging, finally waking up, and I forget the scene they transitioned from, but it was really cool because it just like cut to Victor. Obviously, it's Victor because it's like just his face with the goo, the hex core goo. But yeah, he stumbles out of his little hex core. It reminds me of just like an old like mirror or picture frame, like whatever it looks like. I don't know if it's like a suspended box or something. I don't know if they showed that, like exactly how that got created.
They don't show how it's created in episode 1. It's basically a big, almost cryo chamber looking thing where it's got the 4 pillars on the side, and then he's encased in this big cocoon goo stuff.
It's the Arcane Bacta tank.
And then he breaks his way out. The assumption, of course, is that, especially because you see when he comes out and grabs his cane, the core converts his cane over. So you imagine that this chamber he was in, the hex core actually made that chamber that he was in.
Yeah.
At least that's my assumption.
Yeah. And Jace is sleeping. He's like passed out, and he, I guess, the backslash reminds me of Star Wars when Finn gets the the saber across the back. Like, back's okay to get slashed, everybody. Like, it's just no big deal.
Right.
By
There's
either lightsaber or chainsaw.
Nothing
you are
at all there.
Yeah.
Chainsaw.
And he's just got a bandit, like he's just got like cloth like wrapped
it's
around,
like two wraps, you know.
Yeah, no big deal. Jace is just, he's like, I'm fine. But yeah, I Jace, like, he was just off this episode for me. Like, he was awkward. His dialogue was bad. I did not like Jace at all in this episode. I don't know if he was like sleep deprived and like really like not on it, but like he was just not on the same level as like Victor, clearly, for many reasons. But like he was just a bad character this episode, in my opinion. Like, something was off with him, which was fine though, because that entire scene was Victor kind of coming to like his senses in terms of like, I should have died. I technically did die. I'm not who I was before.
What the heck did you do to me, bro?
My girlfriend's dead.
Yeah, he comes back and he's very he's you can see some of the machine coming through, I think.
You can even kind of hear it too in his voice.
Well, and he starts talking about trying to describe his feelings and how it's cold, it's not sad, and then he kind of gets a change of look in his face when he looks back at the cocoon that he came out of, and you can tell it's anger that he's trying to describe of why am I still here? Why didn't you destroy the core? Like he had asked Jace, and that's where they start having this little bit of a confrontation.
Yeah. And talking about like an out of body experience too, like he for sure died, right? And it's like, where do you go after you die? Like, he went wherever that is in this sense, and like, but he was still, because his body was still alive, he was still tethered there. And I feel like he was brought back, so he really, was gone into the ether, and then he really just kind of comes back into it, and that's kind of shocking. But then you have Jace, who's just like been through a lot. Granted, I get his moment of self-pity where he's like, I didn't ask for all this, right? Like, all my troubles. And Victor's just like, yeah, bro, I don't really know anymore. I'm gonna peace out, dog. And I mean, he kept the cloak. I'm gonna be Victor for Halloween, I think, because I'm just vibing with Victor. Like, I get him.
You're like a couple weeks late, bro.
Yeah. Next year.
Yeah. No, but Jace doing that obviously out of love and care for his friend, closest friend, I would say. But yeah, Victor not a fan, because I mean, look what he's become, right? He's not even himself anymore.
Slum Jesus. I mean, I wouldn't complain. I mean, I'd be all about that. I'd go down there and just help all the heroin addicts, just like cleanse them with like holy hex core light.
You could use some of that over in Canton.
Yeah. Happily walk the streets of Akron and just cure the land.
Oh man, but yeah, it was cool. Not cool to see, but cool to see Victor's reaction as he comes out of the cocoon, because it's starting that descent into like crazed hex core mech wizard guy that we have in the game. So, but yeah, talk more about the end that we see with Victor, and we'll get into like Heimer and Echo in a minute. But yeah, what would you guys think about Victor's like healing the shimmer addicted monster people down in the lanes?
So I'm kind of interested in obviously he keeps hearing Sky's voice and the
seeing her
and the footsteps and the obviously it's the hex core itself, but we don't really know, because obviously the hex core is what killed Sky. So did the hex core absorb some of her thoughts and memories and feelings and stuff like that, and it's using that knowledge to kind of lead Victor the way that it wants to go. Because obviously this is not Victor making up his mind of where he wants to go. He is being led there by the hex core. So it's what is the purpose? What is the hex core's purpose in leading him there to begin with? Before we even get to the healing and everything, why did it take him there in the first place?
Any theories?
I don't have any yet. The only thing I can think of is something about, like I said, with the hex core killing Sky, it took in some of her knowledge of the lanes, and then also Victor's own desire. The whole point of him teaming up with Jace in the first place was to help the people of the lanes, to help his neighbors, essentially, because he's from the lanes originally. And so the hex core is picking up on that and leading him back to this location to try and fulfill his desire.
Yeah, it's definitely like a spiritual thing where it's like your purpose is, your purpose from before is gone, right? Like he accepted that really quickly. He's like, I died, I am reborn, but it's like, to what end? And was Sky aware of, perhaps the Shimmer crisis, like down below, or had any kind of relation to that?
It's hard to say because we don't really know. I mean, obviously Victor made trips occasionally back to see Singed, but we don't really know what was Victor's relationship with the lanes at all.
I mean, perhaps it's a combination of like his prior ambition, right, to kind of like do good and help people, combined with like her just good nature, and like she's just kind of that guiding light that says, if you want to be useful and like re-find your purpose, this is probably a good place to start. Maybe some sort of combination of that.
And maybe Sky is just the hex core voice skin that Victor will listen
like
to, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it could just be the hex core using her voice to manipulate Victor, because the assumption I'm working on is that the hex core and Victor are now one, and the hex core, obviously Victor has lost his ability to have feelings in a normal human sense. So
and we saw that with him, like trying to describe anger with his conversation with Jace, right?
Exactly. And
excuse me.
When he goes and heals the guy from the bar way back the first time we saw him, he can actually sense that person's feelings. And I have a cat again. He can actually sense that person's feelings, but Victor himself doesn't appear to really be feeling anything at all. So my assumption is that he and the hex core now has access to Victor's memories and all of that kind of stuff, and has control a little bit over Victor's thoughts, and it's using Sky to manipulate him to that could be a possibility, that it has nothing to do with Sky itself, and the hex core is just using Sky because the hex core knows Victor will listen to that voice.
Right. Do we think the hex core's intentions are not good?
No, they're purely good.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, because it still leaves a question of how do we get to League of Legends Victor from where we are? Because I wouldn't necessarily say League of Legends Victor throws me as only want to do good and help people kind of character. So something more has to happen along the way here as he becomes more machine, and so it'll be interesting to see. Is that the Victor side? Is that Victor's side as he deals with still being alive and being changed? Does he get more angry, or is it the hex core that leads him down that path?
I think League needs to make an alt Victor like play kit, where he is this Victor, and basically he can convert like enemy minions, and then like they're just like his little lackeys. Like
that would be hilarious.
That would be like the ZZ portal. Just convert enemy minions and turn them around and start sending them out backwards.
Yep.
That wouldn't be annoying.
That would actually be kind of hilarious. Instead of killing your opponents, you just slowly like mend your opponents back to life, and at a certain level, you just take control of them briefly or something.
That would definitely.
You can use their moves.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see because, yeah, exactly like you were saying, Venom. In-game Victor does not seem to be as altruistic as Arcane Victor so far. So, yeah, definitely going to be interested to see how he continues to develop, which was like one of our talking points in the last episode. Interested to see where he goes here in the last season. But that kind of brings us to the last little chunk that happened in the episode, and that is Echo finds that the leaves of the tree that he kind of has turned into this shelter for all the like orphans of the lane and stuff, being infected with the hex core like
pattern.
Yeah. So he takes a leaf, or no, Heimer's is there. That's right, because that's where he went after he was kind of like shunned from Piltover. Which, by the way, I thought it was cool to see him have a little bubble turret.
Yeah.
Because Nick, his whole play style in game is he just sets down turrets and they shoot things for him, and it's super annoying. So it's cool to see like a little turret in the show. But yeah, he shows Heimer. Heimer's like, "Oh, this isn't good. We got to go analyze this." So they sneak it into the lab.
He's just out there looking to have a good time, live that life.
Dude, he's been around for like 300 years. He's got to find joy in the little things. There's a cool little jungle reference to the game too. The brambleback has left the jungle.
Yep.
Which I got a good chuckle out of. But yeah, what'd you guys think of the little Heimer Echo heist scene where they break back into his lab?
It's fun both times. Heimerdinger's was a fun.
It was fun both times. I mean, Echo could have not been there. Echo was kind of bringing the vibes down, but the Heimerdinger was definitely going hard.
Yeah.
Well, the first time through, you definitely need Echo there to like reframe what's happening, because then he's like, "Don't you like own this place?"
Right.
And then you're like, "Oh yeah, okay, I know where they're going now."
Right.
Like he's breaking into. Because at first, like I didn't pick up on the context of where they were going for, and I was like, I don't know,
because he's
sneaking in somewhere.
I think he said before they left, I believe he said he's seen this before in his lab. So you assume he's breaking into his lab, and at some point his lab kind of became Jace's lab after. I assume the whole place that they're building into is actually the academy that Heimerdinger helped raise to prominence and everything.
Right.
And the main lab where Jace has been doing his hex tech research is where they're trying to get into.
Yeah. So they get in. Jace is waiting there with his massive hammer cannon, which, man, that the shot of him like at that angle pointing his cannon at them was so cool. But yeah, basically they analyze it, confirm that it's Victor Goop, essentially, and it's not good. The end. Right? Am I missing anything?
Well, we got the teaser for the next episode.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, before we get into the teaser, like, did we leave anything important out here of what happened in episode 2?
Fight scene was dope. The little kid. I mean, is there anything with the little kid other than being like, I love you, Jinx, because you're awesome, kind of like fandom? Because she gets to, like she gets to see this girl that like kicks ass, and then she's running from these goons, which are also cool. I like the mech goons of the chem barons.
With their mouth all sewn up so or anything.
Is Smeech and then like the other like monocle like top hat one, are they on like the same gang and just like infighting, or are those three gangs? Because like all the goons seem very similar on the one side, and there's just like the Amazon chicks on the other end.
They're all three different. They're three different barons, so they've all got their own goons that are out there. There is a little bit of similarities between Smeech and the nameless guy that I don't know that we got a name for.
Yeah,
the penguin,
big purple dude.
The old guy that just wants to give in and doesn't think they can fight or whatever. But they're definitely two separate factions.
Yeah. And there's kind of some similarities between the little kid and Jinx, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Jinx and Vi were on their own, rescued by Vander. This little kid's alone, rescued by Jinx. It's
sidekick.
Kind of a little parallels going
Give her
there.
A couple grenades, and she can help out.
Right.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if that continues to develop, or if that was just an episode 2 thing. What you guys?
One other thing is just the in the arcade we get a little bit of Caitlyn might be starting to lose it.
Oh yeah,
I think she's just on edge.
Got to see the rifle.
Very stressed out on edge. But you mentioned earlier that Jace doesn't really seem. He seems off in this episode, and so definitely I think we're going to get a different Kate than season 1 Kate, now that she's kind of taken over this mantle that her mother set on her.
Yeah,
built over crew tweaking.
Right.
Yeah, that was something we talked about a lot. Well, not a lot, but a good chunk last week. Nick, was Kate's like complete 180 shift after she went down to the archive and did her little like microfiche research from the key that her mom gave her. But yeah, she did kind of lose it there in the arcade. It was cool that we got to see the rifle in use though.
Right.
So that was nice.
Nice big hole, hex tech, right? And those are all hex tech weapons.
Right.
Yeah, they got a little upgrade from our boy Jace. Yeah, so before we talk about of course the like post credit scene, overall thoughts on episode 2, I think, it's kind of a little more than a nothing burger, like nothing super exciting. I'll kind of move some of the plot lines along a little bit, but I thought, it was good, but like not much to it. What do you guys think? We'll start with you, Venom.
Yeah, so I mean, it obviously went where I assumed it was going to. We were going to get the reverse of episode 1, but there really just wasn't much. There's a lull in this episode for sure, where it starts moving some of the pieces around in the lanes, and just kind of waiting to see where they all land. I think they had to really build the new alliance between Jinx and Savika, tie those bonds together and move them forward. So there was a little bit of loose ends to tie up, I guess, to try and move us forward for what's coming next.
True. Nick, what do you think?
I don't know. I think it had some of the best moments in like the whole show. I mean, this is a big episode. I think it's awesome. Whether it's the fight scene, whether it's just seeing Smeech do his thing, like I think Smeech is awesome. I think Victor like just strolling down into the lanes. Like that whole thing was great. And then obviously the Jinx music video plus the stylized like intro, re-intro to the Chem Barons, right? With Silco at the head of the table, then everyone getting X'd out. I think just maybe you guys are probably right in terms of like plot and like substance.
They don't move very far, but they do a good job of making not moving very far look good along the way.
Right.
True. That's a good way to put it, for sure.
You're not bored about it. It's just when you sit back the second time, especially watching through, it's like, okay, we really did not get through much in episode 2.
Right. And I think I was like so lost the first time I watched it. I was like, I wasn't aware or not if we were getting through stuff or not because I wasn't following. But then the second time I was like, okay, yeah, we didn't really get anywhere. I think it would have been, well, the arcade scene was cool. They're definitely kind of they use this as like a pacer before we get to see Vi Crew like go stomp some face, and I'm excited to see what their main confrontation is as they kind of lurk around the lanes, looking for Jinx. So, and then I think it's kind of like any other kind of like mob type media where it's like you kind of gotta move the pieces around. You're not really taking any out. Those Smeech got it. You're kind of resetting the table down there with Silco gone, because that was something I completely forgot about from season 1. Is like, oh yeah, Silco's dead, right? So they got
I did the same thing.
They got to deal with all of that. And they did it in a really stylized, entertaining way. But yeah, we're really kind of now just net beginning of the season, kind of, right?
Yeah, we kind of caught up now.
Yeah, it does feel like we're caught up now because we got the wrap up of the finale, right, in episode 1 from season 1, and now we got the like reset of the table. Jinx isn't just Jinx; she's got a partner now, and everyone's getting their footing down there.
She's got 2 partners now.
Yeah. So we're kind of like, now the season's gonna start.
Right.
Yeah. The real question is, going forward, will every character, notable character, have a beginning of the episode music video?
So we need a Vi one.
Need a Vi one, a Caitlyn one, a Jace one. Oh no, Caitlyn was episode 1. Vi, Jace, Echo, Heimer.
Jace has to get his head out of his ass if he wants a music video. Yeah. He's being real lame ass.
I'm glad we got the Caitlyn music video out of the way before she starts to kind of lose it too. So
yeah, Jace that shit might have sailed for Jace. I don't know. Yeah. He's really got.
Well, and what kind of a music video do we do for Victor now that he's just a motionless machine god thing?
I don't know. I'm sure they could find another Linkin Park song he could do or something.
Maybe
we didn't even talk about that for last week.
I know the name of
the world's theme in Arcane.
Yeah,
that was interesting to see them tie it together a little bit.
Yeah,
but some reusing of assets maybe. I wasn't really sure what you guys. I know Nick probably doesn't have a clue what's going on, but
yeah. So every year, Nick, for Worlds, they basically make a theme song for it. This last year, that just happened in October, Linkin Park with their new Scientologist vocalist, apparently, like, that was a big controversy. They did the song. It was called Heavy as the Crown. Name of the first episode of the season, Heavy as the Crown. Was the song in the episode too?
At the end of episode 1, it's in there, yeah.
There you go.
Where Caitlyn's crew starts unraveling.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Play, yep.
That's right. Yeah. So that was a cool tie-in. I totally forgot to mention that too last week.
Yeah.
But as soon as I saw the title, I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Nick, you talked about like the post-credit like ending scene, and it's not really post-credit, but everyone, you guys know what I'm talking about. Walk us through that.
So yeah, it cuts to black, so it's not post credits, like post end of the episode. They fake you out.
You can't do post credit on Netflix because it makes you skip the credits.
Yeah.
So you have to move the stuff in front of the credits so Netflix doesn't skip it.
The pre-post credits.
It's just a 2-second blip where you're like, cut to black. Oh wait, one more thing. So yeah, we're basically in what's his name? You said it earlier.
Singed.
Yeah, his lab. I'm gonna, we're in his lab, and the creature, which like Victor was fond of, I assume that's what that was. Is he kind of is dissecting the cells. He's got like a little petri dish, and like we start with like them just multiplying, right? So I think he put some of that DNA or whatever on a cell in the petri dish, and he just went crazy. And then we kind of like pan over the table, and then we get the rat kind of thing. I forget what it was, but kind of plugged up to a ton of goo tubes, and
yeah, so
that's it.
At the end of episode 1, you get singed in, we assume,
the jungle, obviously.
In some kind of a winter area, so Freljord or Noxus, somewhere like that, and he's outside a wolf den. That's and right. So when they show the second one, they actually show, and I don't know if it's a 2-headed wolf
or two
wolves, but there's a couple of wolf heads hanging from hooks in the background, and you've got the couple of wolves hanging there, and there's a heart, I assume, from one of the wolves that he's got hooked up to those tubes. So it's actually a beating heart that's on those tubes, and he's obviously playing with the cells, adding some kind of genetic mutation or something to the cells.
Yeah, I mean, we're just, how many more times they can confirm that Vander is Warwick before we just see Vander being Warwick?
So does he have Vander? Is that how that played out in season 1?
We're assuming.
Yeah, it hasn't been confirmed.
Silco keeps Vander, right? Or who? I just watched that episode like a few weeks ago. Like Vander doesn't die.
It's never really. You're assuming he dies.
Silco takes him, right?
Right.
And then, the end of season 1, you're in Singe's lab, and you just see like a hand hanging, right? So, a lot of people are like, "Oh, that kind of looks like a claw, like Warwick." And oh yeah, Vander was like a big character, and he died, but then they like took his dead body weirdly. So yeah, it was just kind of like a lot of assuming, but I mean,
well, and another thing we have not mentioned at all, and that's not present. Well, it might be a little bit present in the games. Jinx has shimmer powers without needing to take shimmer.
Her eyes get more pink, like
that when her eyes glow a little bit more pink.
Yeah.
When Singed saved her life, he had to use shimmer to do it, but obviously, and Singed knocked out Silco to hide what he was doing. So you kind of wonder, what kind of experimentation did Singed do on Jinx to kind of save her life? And when Vander, quote unquote, died, he had already taken shimmer before he, of course, jumped out of the window with Vi to save her life. And then they show him kind of dying in the streets. But if he had shimmer in his body, and Singed can use that shimmer to keep someone alive, that I feel like that kind of all ties it together, because he uses shimmer to save Jinx later on, and I wonder if he knew he could do that because he had already done it with Vander.
Yeah. Here's just a little blurb from Warwick's bio. During his past life as a human, Warwick was a Zonite gangster who decided to retire from crime and live a better life as a good and honest man. He was eventually captured and experimented on by the mad scientist Singed, who pumped him full of chemicals containing spliced monster DNA in an attempt to transform him into the beast he was deep down inside. Although singed experiments initially killed Warwick, they later resurrected him as a lichen with an insatiable thirst for blood. So yeah, basically Vander.
Yeah, that sounds exactly like Vander.
Yeah, so man, I'll be really sad if they just keep teasing this along and never actually show Warwick until like the last episode or something. But man, I would be so hyped if like, how cool would it be to see like just Act 2 Warwick out there terrorizing the streets, and then like Vi and or Jinx like separately or together like realize that Warwick was Vander, and then oh man, that could just be so cool.
Well, I guess so I picked this up in season 1, and I think it's basically Heimendinger that says it, but like Arcane, like the name of the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's basically what the Hex tech revolves around. So you know, I've been thinking about this, and it's like there's only 2 seasons, but clearly they're going to do more things. I would hope, you know, desperately hope. So you know, what would they name the next show, right? So I imagine Arcane is tied to it because of the nature of this story arc and like what it's dabbling at. So like if we move to somewhere like Noxus or something, like they must pick a new name, because it would be silly to say Arcane. You know what I mean? Like they can't name it Arcane, but I also find it weird that they're not going to like keep it going as Arcane because it's a good name. But I don't know. Yeah. But I've been thinking about that, so like maybe they'll just pick new names for each new series.
Right?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, man, I would be so sad if they never make another series like this in Runeterra.
Yeah, they've come out a couple more times in the last few weeks. Obviously with the show going on, they said they don't want it to become a new MCU kind of thing. So we're not going to get the full Marvel spread of everything going on. But you would have to imagine with how successful this has been. There's been Riot executives that have come out and said this. Yeah, it's expensive, but it is doing exactly what they want it to do. And they want to keep developing into film and other media and everything. So it'll be interesting if they do more tie-off series like this, or if we actually get some kind of a feature film or something that they tie everything into. It'll be interesting to see where they go from here.
Because like for a game that has like no in-game narrative, the world of League of Legends is so full of stories to be told. Like, dude, they have like 170 characters. Like, there's so much potential in animation, whether it's a show or a movie, like you said, or comics. You know, I don't know. I just want more of these stories. Preferably ones I can watch over reading, because if I wanted the stories, I could just read them on their website. But getting to visually like see the characters interact in a world that, you know, we've never seen before, it's been really awesome, and I hope they continue that. But anyways, any closing remarks before we jump out of here, guys? Kitty, any closing remarks on episode 2?
Maybe I'll try to research it, but you guys would know, like, it's doing exactly what they wanted to, which means they're selling, you know, they're selling things in game and stuff like that. But it's like, can you, like, I mean, there's only 9 episodes a season, and if it's, by my math, if you ballpark it, you know, just production wise, you know, it's like 9 million an episode, 7 million an episode. Like, how quickly can you make something like that back with the rest of their adventures?
So with League of Legends and they've also got Valorant, and they've got TFT, and I don't know if they really do anything with their
card game.
Hearthstone, Legends of Runeterra or whatever it was. I don't know that they do anything with that anymore. But for each of their large games, they release skin packs, and they have an event going on where if you spend money, you can unlock a pass, which gets you more rewards. Yeah. So they have a direct tie-in there, but then you're also there was someone just in the Discord that was like, hey, my wife watched all of Arcane and is caught up, and now she's asking if she should play League of Legends.
No. The answer is always no.
Yeah, the answer is definitely no. But there's a lot of people out there that are going, this is kind of cool. What is this from? And should I get involved?
Right. Play the game, or like learn that there's an esport tied to it. Like maybe they'll start watching that, and more sponsorship money comes in from the assorted leagues that have viewership. And I mean, Riot's, I don't want to say the inventor, but I would definitely go out on a limb and say a pioneer, if not the pioneer, of like making $1 billion on a free game, right? They're pretty successful for being a free game, and they've been running for over a decade. Yeah, that's also true. In spite of the many times they live reenact the whole stick in the spoke of the bike wheel meme, they are still afloat and make enough money to do cool things like this while not making players pay for their game. So I don't know. I've always been amazed at free to play games making a ton of money. Even if they just are able to sell skin packs to the already existing League players from Arcane, that'll make them like millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Like, people are obsessed with skins in League. There's nothing you can do about it. I don't know. It's a good episode, boys. You ready for episode 3? Finish out Act 1. Make sure, viewer, you subscribe and leave a comment. Let us know what your favorite part of episode 2 was. If you bought the Arcane skin pack, let us know. Is it even out yet, or have they just teased it? I don't know. Leave a comment so you can enter to win the Steelbook of Season 1. And until next time, we'll see you later.
Meow.
Bye.
Meow. Bye, kitty.